meeting of the Finance and Operations Committee will please come to order. Mr. Rogers, please begin with an overview of your agenda items for this evening, sir. Thank you.
Tonight we have two agenda items, both informational. The first is an update on the vendor fair, which was held on January 17th here in the Upper Darby boardroom, where we welcomed new vendors to see what Upper Darby has to offer in the near future with all of our projects that are planned for the future. The second item is also informational. It's a report on the annual water testing. This is a report that we push out each year. We test the water at each of the buildings and report the information out, and I'll let Marvin go further into detail when he actually presents. So we'll start off with the update on the vendor fair with Mr. Joe McGilvery.
Thank you.
Good evening to our school board members, district staff, and community members. At the December committee meeting, we presented to the board our intent to hold the inaugural vendor fair here at the high school on January 17th. The fair, originally proposed by our controller Marvin Lee, was intended to spread the word to the vendor community that the school district was open for business. We selected a Friday afternoon that students were not in session, thereby freeing up some parking spaces, and with the help of the security team and our custodial crews, we were able to usher in the attendees, get them signed in, seated, and back out with minimal disruption to the remaining staff. It was our goal to offer opportunities to new vendors by informing them how solicitations are requested by the district, and to make certain that we are actively recruiting minority, veteran, and female-owned businesses, as well as general contractors, pardon me, in all trades, thereby enabling us to secure the services of professionals at the best cost and highest quality. For this event, we partnered with thebluebook.com and through their network reached out to hundreds of vendors across the area. The turnout was really impressive. We were rewarded with well over 100 attendees representing over 50 new vendors, along with a great showing from our current vendor base. Included in the new group were 6 minority / female-owned businesses. Our district staff, including Tim Leaf and Craig Harnachek from our facilities team, and Bob Halinsky from our technology team, along with myself, spent nearly 2 hours engaging with these vendors. We answered questions, explained projects, and reviewed practices to help these new vendors join our team. We reviewed how to become an Upper Darby vendor, how to become PA State CoStars contract certified. We reviewed the precepts of procurement in the state of Pennsylvania. We reviewed the quotation bid and RFP thresholds. We reviewed summer 2020 projects. We described our long-term intentions on the longer-range projects, and we discussed with each vendor offerings that were available to them. We've already begun the sign-up process for several new vendors who have provided us with their W-9 forms, and will be sending out any pertinent bidding specs once they become available. There's a lot of excitement from the vendors of getting lots of emails daily from people who attended this program and were really happy that they were included. So we had vendors from across all of these various fields, along with many more. We ran out of a little space there, but we had security and flooring and plumbing and graphic arts and masonry and fire extinguisher certifications. It was really a great event. We publicized our desire to open the doors of opportunity for new vendors across the area. It's our intent to make this an annual event, and given the major construction projects that lie ahead, a deeper talent pool will only help us provide the best for our students, our staff, and our community. It was really, really something. I'm looking forward to doing it again. We talked about maybe even doing it twice a year, but the outpouring of support from both the Blue Book and the people they turned out, it was really, really nice on a Friday afternoon to have 2 hours, come in here, get to meet some people. You saw the vendors talking to Tim and myself, and it was just really, really a great idea by Marvin, and we were able to put on a nice event. So be happy to answer any questions you might have about it.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for holding the event. Okay, I'm glad it went really well. 50 new vendors, I think that's great, right? I would definitely support twice a year if you think twice a year would be warranted. It's great to see I feel like it's checked some of the boxes we set forward about who was going to come in and who was going to do the work and stuff like that. Could you, and it could be anecdotal, it doesn't have to be precise measurement, could you ballpark, like how many were sort of from the area within, and when I mean area, hopefully Upper Darby or Southern Delaware County or something like that?
So, yeah, it would be anecdotal. It would not be an exact figure. But the Blue Book representative that I dealt with specified in the Delaware County area, so that 90% of these vendors were Delaware County based.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Keeps bopping out on me. So, yeah, about 90% of the respondents were Delaware County based. I'm anxious, actually, to work with the BlueBook.com again to try and put on another one. As a matter of fact, I had lunch today with a vendor who came to the event, wanted to know more about it. So it was a really providing some real good feedback 2 weeks after, and we're anxious to incorporate these new vendors into our programs.
I do have a question as well. Thank you for putting on the vendor fair. It sounds like it was really successful. And of course, I want to know about the technology companies that attended. How many technology
So the way it
companies?
worked, Mr. Brown, was we served them a hoagie lunch and bottles of water, and we just congregated. And we had a line, maybe 20 people deep, that came to me to start, and people just kept coming in. And as they came up, I introduced myself. I got their business card. If they had a particular field of interest, I directed them to Mr. Holinsky for any technology-related things, for some items that were above my level of intellect. I forwarded them to Tim Leaf and to Craig Harnachek, who answered all the hard questions.
Understood. I'll talk to Bob later. Just curious to know how many and who and things like that. Any other questions from the board? Comments from the board?
Yeah, moving forward, outside of the vendor fair, how would vendors sign up, with the district? Is that available on our website with an ease?
So we did put together a packet for the event, which we can certainly have that entire packet. Actually, we put together two packets, one for how to become an Upper Darby vendor and how to become a PA State CoStarz contract certified vendor. So we can certainly post both of those to our website.
That just because a vendor didn't attend the actual event does not preclude them from ever coming to work for the district or pick up a project. So anytime we go out and advertise for bid, RFP, or any of the projects in that way, it would still be advertised in the paper just like we always have. So it's still out there in the public, and we're still trying to attract as many vendors as possible on a continuous basis.
I think the Delco Times is our paper of record, but have we looked into expanding to advertising into other papers? I think the Spirit was mentioned. Have we looked into that? Are we doing that maybe already? I don't know.
So when you say advertising, so we advertise typically for bids and so forth in the News of Delaware County, the Daily Times, the Inquirer. Press Publishing is a local outfit that we use sometimes as well. We're welcome. We would welcome any new outlet to advertise our bids in. I did meet with the representative from the Spirit a few months ago, and would love to engage with them.
Any other questions or comments from the board? Thank you very much. Agenda item 2.
That is informational presentation about water testing results. To prevent exposure to lead contamination in the drinking water of Pennsylvania schools, the Public School Code was amended in June 2018. Act 39 of 2018 stipulates the regulations around drinking water testing. Act 39 encourages schools to test for water in the lead and the copper in the drinking water once a year. If a school district opts not to test for the drinking water, the Public School Code mandates the school district to discuss water quality issues at a public meeting once a year. If the results exceed the EPA threshold, the Act 39 requires the school district to immediately implement a school plan to remediate the situation. Testing methodologies. The test procedure is strict and must be fully complied with to render an accurate reading. Because the water should be sitting in the pipe at least for 8 hours, but not more than 18 hours, our custodians collect the water samples first thing in the morning prior to any usage of water throughout the building. A sample of 250 milliliter at each testing faucet is collected, and after consultation with Aqua America, it was recommended that we collect water samples from 5 different locations at each school: kitchen, nurse's office, first floor water fountain, second floor water fountain, and one more time from the same first floor water fountain are collected. After samples are collected, they are handed to Aqua America where the samples are tested. EPA threshold level for lead is 0.015 milligram per liter, and the threshold for copper is 1.3 milligram per liter. Before we talk about the results, there was a slight delay in transferring the water tested sample for Beverly Hills Middle School. You may notice that Beverly Hills Middle School is not on the list. We are hopeful to receive the information before the meeting, but we are still waiting for the results. Once the results are received, we will update the presentation and upload in the Board doc. Besides the Beverly Hills Middle School, the facilities management team is happy to report that all samples collected for this year fell below the threshold. If you look at the chart, ND stands for not detected, and the numbers in the boxes represent the results for each testing location. The full report of the water testing results are available in the Board doc. Any questions?
I guess mine is probably a bad question, but it's a logical one. How can we get all of them to zero, all the numbers to zero? I'm not comfortable with the numbers having anything in it. I know they have certain thresholds that they consider safe, but I would like everything to be not detected or zero. Is that something that we strive for, or how do we go about getting there?
So our plan is to go back and test again and then start trying to implement measures to make sure that we can get them as low as possible. I don't know that we could sit and say we can guarantee that it's not going to be detected, because if there's a water pipe from a township or borough running through and into the building that may have lead in it or a portion of it, there's not much we can do about that. But we can control what's inside our buildings. One of the main things they recommend that is a quick adjustment to the numbers at times is changing a faucet. So an older faucet could accumulate any kind of buildup or anything like that. So that's a quick and easy fix, and then we retest immediately to see how low the numbers go. And then as they dip down, we can try and implement other measures to combat it.
Understood. I'm looking at the kitchen number for Westbrook Park. That's the highest number I see, 0.61. So I would think that, that
For the copper, yep.
yeah, you would want to change that just to try to get that number lower when the other ones are quite lower.
Craig, in discussions, the other point would be a process over time to implement new water fountains, refillable water bottle water fountains in the school district as well.
So we start. Thanks, Dan. So we already started looking into replacing the water fountains in all the schools with filtrated systems, so that you could walk up and have a water bottle and fill it with filtered water. It's costly. We've surveyed the buildings, and we're looking at. I wanted to get an idea whether it was going to be something we could try and implement quickly this summer, or it would take more than 1 year. It'll most likely happen this summer. But yes, we are looking into that, and that's more so for the water fountains. But we're trying to get creative and look at also those kitchens, the nurse's office. Marvin's got a great deal of experience with this and working in the school district of Philadelphia, and he had shared with me also there are certain instances where you test a sink that's really used for washing your hands, not for potable water. And sometimes it's acceptable to put a sign that, the water, it's really for washing your hands. Say you're in the nurse's office and it's a sink truly meant for, sanitation purposes, washing your hands only, not drinking water, and you have a potable drinking fountain next to it, you would post a sign to mitigate that as well.
That's exactly what I was going to ask. So if some of the numbers, particularly where the water fountain, I see 0.59, which is not too far from what President Brown talked about with the 0.61, is a first floor water fountain. Is that something that there can be a sign, just closing that off until we can fix that number? Like, how does that work? And where would the levels be where you would say, okay, no drinking out of this particular fountain?
The EPA standards are really that threshold. You have to get it down, but we don't see, especially in lead, there being a really acceptable level at all. Copper is not as big of a exposure level as far as lead at this point. But you know, we're like we said, we're really trying to evaluate them, and if we could possibly get the filtration systems in for the drinking fountains, then it wouldn't be although it is below the EPA standard, if we can address those sooner than later.
So technically, we pass, but
All of the numbers you're seeing here are below the EPA standards.
Yeah, I just want to point out, I think, Craig, so the second line of blocks that we're pointing out, the .61 and the .5,
That's copper. Yes.
Above that is lead, where NDs are not detectable, so.
Yes, it's two sections. The lead, which is more concerning. There is only 3 schools that had identified any kind of detection at all.
I also think it's interesting, for instance, the one that where the second draw of the first floor water fountain, that there was detection, but not the first draw. That doesn't make sense. But thank you.
I think that also goes to this idea that that it's like, so a couple of things, that it's either possibly directly the faucet itself and also this duration of how long it's sitting in the pipes, right? So if it's sitting, so the first draw, oh no, you're right, it's second had it, you're right, okay, my bad. But it does seem maybe that there's some hope for this idea of replacing the faucets because it's not consistent throughout the buildings, right?
So when will we see the estimate on the filtered water fountains?
I can tell you that the actual system, the estimates that we've already collected are about $1,000 per water fountain. Plus, we have to logistically figure out the man hours, whether we can do it internally or we'd have to hire out the work. But I don't want to commit to a cost beyond that. We know that the unit's about $1,000. Each school could have anywhere from 5 to 6 water fountains. We have collected a survey of the water fountains. We're really trying to move in that direction. But we just wanted to present the results.
Fair enough. Fair
Thanks,
enough.
Dan.
Good question. Any other comments or questions from the board?
Well, we could stagger. We could stagger the filtration to elementary schools first, right? That's where it's most critical. Right. I'm just helping Dan out.
No, we're in the midst of putting that plan together.
Yeah, I just want to make a comment. I just want to make sure taxpayers know that, the local school districts, local governments, I believe will be seeing increased spending in regards to quality of water in our community because the state and federal government is rolling back currently regulations on the quality of our water. And if this is something that does concern you, please get engaged at the state and federal government because otherwise this cost is getting pushed down to the consumer, which is us. Okay.
Would it be possible to look into any federal or state grants that might be available to help us remediate some of those issues?
Yes, we can do that, and we can work with Ms. Elgart to see if there's anything else out there locally or federally.
Sounds good. Good suggestion. Any other comments from the board? All right. Thank you very much, gentlemen. At this time, are there any public comments? Okay, seeing none, Mr. Rogers, would you please review the agenda items presented this evening? Thank you, sir.
Agenda item number 1 was an update for the vendor fair, informational. And agenda item number 2 was the annual water testing update, also informational.
Thank you. A motion is in order for adjournment of the Finance and Operations Committee meeting. Meeting adjourned. Thank you.